What if a single decision could push an entire nation's judges to the edge, making them question whether they should stay or walk away? It sounds extreme, but legal experts warn that when the justice system begins to shift, the impact can be deeper than most people realize. Across the world, studies show that even small legal changes can trigger major consequences, from loss of trust to rising pressure on those who uphold the law. Now imagine a situation where judges feel their power, independence, and control slowly slipping away. This isn't just about laws, it's about power, pressure, and the future of justice. And what you're about to discover might completely change how you see the system you rely on every day. Number 1. Threat to judicial independence. What if the people responsible for delivering justice were no longer truly independent? At the core of every fair legal system lies one critical principle: judicial independence. This means judges must be free to make decisions based only on law and evidence, without pressure from politicians, public opinion, or powerful institutions. But when a new law begins to interfere with that freedom, even slightly, it can create a ripple effect that spreads through the entire system. Legal research consistently shows that when judges feel influenced or controlled, the quality of decisions can decline. Why? Because instead of focusing purely on what is right, they may start worrying about consequences, career risks, public backlash, or political reactions. And once that fear enters the system, justice becomes uncertain. Imagine being a judge, knowing your decision might not just be judged in court, but also by outside forces with their own agendas. Would you still feel confident delivering a fair ruling? This is exactly why judicial independence is protected so strongly in democratic systems like Canada. It ensures that every citizen, no matter their status, receives a fair and unbiased hearing. If this foundation begins to weaken, even slightly, it doesn't just affect judges. It affects everyone who depends on justice to be fair. If you were in that position, would you stay or walk away? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if you value real, powerful content like this, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you these eye-opening videos. Number 2. Political influence over decisions. What if court decisions were no longer based purely on law and justice, but slowly shaped by political pressure? One of the biggest concerns legal experts raise is the possibility of political influence creeping into the judiciary. In a healthy system, judges are expected to remain completely neutral, making decisions without fear or favor. But when new laws give even indirect control or influence to political bodies, that balance can begin to shift. Research in legal systems around the world shows that when courts are perceived as politically influenced, public trust drops significantly. People start questioning whether decisions are truly fair, or if they are being guided by hidden agendas. And once that trust is broken, it's incredibly difficult to rebuild. Now imagine being a judge in that situation. Instead of focusing only on evidence, you might start thinking, will this decision upset powerful people, or could this affect my position? That subtle shift in thinking can change everything. Justice becomes less about truth and more about consequences. For everyday citizens, this creates a dangerous reality. Because if courts are no longer fully neutral, then fairness is no longer guaranteed. And that's exactly why even the possibility of political influence is taken so seriously. Because once power enters the courtroom, justice may quietly begin to lose its meaning. Do you think courts should ever be influenced by politics, or stay completely independent? Drop your thoughts below. I'm really curious to hear your take. And if you appreciate the effort behind content like this, tap subscribe. It's just one click, but it keeps us going. Number 3. Mandatory sentencing rules. What if judges were no longer allowed to adjust decisions based on the unique details of each case? One of the most controversial aspects of modern legal reforms is the idea of mandatory sentencing, rules that force judges to give fixed punishments, no matter the circumstances. At first, this might sound fair. After all, rules create consistency, right? But in reality, it can remove one of the most important parts of justice, human judgment. Legal studies have shown that rigid sentencing laws can sometimes lead to unintended injustice. Why? Because not every case is the same. Two people might commit the same crime, but their situations, intentions, and backgrounds could be completely different. A good judge considers all of these factors before making a decision. Now imagine taking that power away. Instead of carefully weighing each case, a judge is forced to follow a strict formula. No exceptions, no flexibility. Over time, this can make the role feel less like delivering justice and more like simply applying rules without thought. For judges, this can be deeply frustrating. It limits their ability to do what they were trained for, making fair, balanced decisions. And for citizens, it raises a serious concern. Are we getting true justice, or just automated outcomes? Because when flexibility disappears, justice risks becoming cold, rigid, and disconnected from reality. Do you believe strict rules make justice better, or do they remove fairness? Share your opinion below. I want to hear your side. And if you respect the effort behind these deep dive videos, hit subscribe. Just one click, but it truly supports us. Number 4. Increased accountability pressure. What if every decision you made at work was constantly judged, criticized, and questioned by the public and powerful institutions? In today's world, accountability is important, but when it becomes excessive pressure, it can start affecting performance in serious ways. For judges, this pressure can come from multiple directions: media attention, political reactions, and public opinion. And when new laws increase this scrutiny even further, the courtroom can start to feel less like a place of justice and more like a stage under constant observation. Psychological studies show that when people make decisions under intense pressure, their thinking can become defensive rather than fair. Instead of focusing purely on what is right, they may start making safe decisions to avoid criticism. And in a legal system, that shift can be extremely dangerous. Imagine being a judge, knowing that one decision could bring massive backlash, headlines, or even threats to your career. Would you take bold, fair decisions, or play it safe? Over time, this kind of environment can lead to stress, hesitation, and even fear, none of which belong in a system that depends on confidence and clarity. For citizens, this means one thing: justice might no longer be driven by truth and law, but by the pressure surrounding it. Because when accountability turns into pressure, justice can slowly become performance instead of principle. If your every decision was judged publicly, would you stay strong or start playing safe? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if you value the effort behind content like this, hit subscribe. Just one click, but it keeps us creating more powerful videos. Number 5. Loss of professional autonomy. What if you spent years mastering your profession, only to be told you can no longer make your own independent decisions? For judges, professional autonomy isn't just a benefit, it's the core of their role. It allows them to carefully analyze each case, interpret the law, and deliver decisions based on experience, reasoning, and fairness. But when new laws begin to limit that freedom, judges can start to feel like they are no longer decision makers, but simply followers of strict instructions. Research in workplace psychology shows that when professionals lose autonomy, their job satisfaction drops, and their performance can suffer. This is especially critical in the legal system, where decisions are rarely black and white. Every case has layers, context, and human elements that require thoughtful judgment. Now imagine being forced to ignore your expertise. Instead of applying your knowledge, you're expected to follow a predefined path. No creativity, no flexibility, no personal judgment. Over time, this can feel frustrating, even demoralizing. And for many judges, that loss of control could be a reason to consider stepping away entirely. For society, this raises an important concern. Do we want a system led by experienced thinkers, or one controlled by rigid processes? Because when autonomy disappears, justice risks becoming mechanical instead of meaningful. If your expertise was ignored, would you continue or walk away? Share your thoughts below. I'm really curious to know. And if you respect the effort behind these videos, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly supports us. Number 6. Mental stress and burnout. What if the job of delivering justice slowly started affecting your mental health? Being a judge is already one of the most high-pressure professions in the world. Every decision can change lives, impact families, and shape society. But when new laws increase restrictions, scrutiny, and responsibility, that pressure doesn't just stay professional. It becomes deeply personal. Studies in psychology show that continuous exposure to high-stakes decision-making can lead to mental fatigue, anxiety, and burnout. Judges are expected to remain calm, logical, and fair at all times. But behind the scenes, they are often dealing with intense workloads, emotional cases, and the fear of making the wrong call. Now imagine adding even more pressure. Limited decision-making power, increased public criticism, and constant oversight can push even the most experienced professionals to their limits. Over time, this can lead to chronic stress, reduced focus, and even emotional exhaustion. And here's the reality. When the mind is overwhelmed, decision quality can suffer. For a system that depends on clear thinking and balanced judgment, this is a serious concern. Because justice isn't just about laws, it's about the mental clarity of the people applying them. If judges begin to feel mentally drained or unsupported, many may choose the only option left, to step away completely. Because when burnout takes over, even the strongest minds can reach their breaking point. Do you think anyone can handle this level of pressure forever? Or is burnout inevitable? Share your thoughts below. And if you value the effort behind content like this, hit subscribe. Just one click, but it keeps us motivated to bring you more. Number 7. Public trust decline. What if one day, people stop believing that the justice system is truly fair? A legal system doesn't just run on laws, it runs on trust. People follow rules, respect decisions, and accept outcomes because they believe the system is honest and unbiased. But when changes in laws create doubt about how decisions are made, that trust can begin to fade. Research shows that when public confidence in courts drops, it can have serious consequences. People may start questioning verdicts, ignoring legal processes, or feeling that justice is no longer equally applied. And once that belief is shaken, restoring it becomes incredibly difficult. Now imagine hearing that judges themselves are feeling restricted, pressured, or unable to act freely. What message does that send to the public? It creates uncertainty. Instead of seeing courts as places of fairness, people may begin to view them as systems influenced by external forces. And when that happens, even correct decisions can be doubted. For everyday citizens, this can be deeply unsettling. Because if you can't trust the system designed to protect your rights, where do you turn? This is why public trust is considered one of the most valuable assets of any justice system. Because when people stop believing in fairness, the entire system begins to lose its strength and stability. Do you still trust the system completely? Or do you think it's changing? Be honest and share your thoughts below. And if you appreciate the effort behind these videos, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly means a lot to us. Number 8. Constitutional conflicts. What if a new law didn't just change the system, but actually conflicted with the Constitution itself? In countries like Canada, the Constitution acts as the ultimate safeguard, a framework designed to protect rights, freedoms, and the balance of power. But when new laws push boundaries or introduce controversial changes, they can sometimes clash with constitutional principles. And when that happens, the entire legal system enters a state of uncertainty. Legal scholars have long warned that even small conflicts with constitutional values can create serious long-term consequences. Why? Because judges are then placed in an incredibly difficult position. They must decide whether to follow the new law or uphold the Constitution they swore to protect. Now imagine being in that situation. Every decision becomes a legal dilemma. Every case turns into a potential conflict between two powerful authorities. And over time, this constant tension can make the role of a judge not just difficult, but unsustainable. For the public, this raises a critical question. If the laws themselves are being challenged at the highest level, how stable is the system really? Because a justice system can only function properly when its foundation is clear and consistent. Once contradictions begin to appear, confusion spreads, not just in courts, but across society. And that's why constitutional conflicts are taken so seriously. Because when the highest laws begin to clash, the entire system risks falling into legal chaos. If you had to choose between a new law and the Constitution, what would you follow? Drop your answer below. I really want to hear your perspective. And if you respect the effort behind these deep videos, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly supports our work. Number 9. Increased workload and complexity. What if doing your job didn't just get harder, but became almost impossible to manage? As new laws and regulations are introduced, they often bring more procedures, more rules, and more complexity. While the intention may be to improve the system, the reality can sometimes be the opposite. For judges, this means handling cases that are not only emotionally demanding, but now also legally overwhelming. Research shows that when professionals are overloaded with too many tasks and complicated processes, their ability to make clear, accurate decisions begins to decline. In the legal world, where every detail matters, even a small mistake can have serious consequences. Now imagine being responsible for dozens of cases, each filled with new legal requirements, constant updates, and growing expectations. Instead of focusing on delivering fair judgments, judges may find themselves buried under paperwork, procedures, and pressure. Over time, this creates a system where efficiency drops, delays increase, and frustration builds, not just for judges, but for everyone involved. And here's the real issue. When complexity becomes too high, even the most experienced professionals can feel like they are losing control. What was once a role of clarity and authority starts to feel like chaos. For many, that tipping point can lead to one decision: to step away from a system that no longer feels manageable. Because when workload and complexity spiral out of control, even justice can become lost in the process. If your workload kept increasing with no control, would you push through or walk away? Be real and tell me below. And if you appreciate the effort behind these deep insights, hit subscribe. Just one click, but it truly keeps us going. Number 10. Early resignations and exit trends. What happens when the very people holding the system together start choosing to leave? One of the most alarming signals in any profession is a sudden rise in early resignations. And in a system as critical as the judiciary, this isn't just a staffing issue, it's a warning sign. When experienced judges begin to consider stepping down earlier than expected, it often reflects deeper problems within the system. Historically, there have been moments in different countries where legal professionals chose to exit due to increasing pressure, lack of independence, or major structural changes. Studies show that when workplace conditions shift dramatically, especially in high-responsibility roles, professionals may choose to leave rather than adapt to an environment that feels unstable or restrictive. Now imagine a courtroom without its most experienced voices. Judges who have spent decades understanding the law, human behavior, and complex cases suddenly stepping away. What's left behind is a gap, not just in numbers, but in wisdom, judgment, and balance. For the system, this can lead to slower processes, inconsistent decisions, and a noticeable drop in overall confidence. And for new or less experienced judges, the pressure becomes even greater as they try to fill roles that demand years of expertise. This isn't just about people leaving. It's about what the system loses when they do. Because when experience walks out the door, the stability of justice may quietly begin to fade away. If you saw experts leaving a system, would you trust it more or less? Drop your honest opinion below. And if you truly value the effort behind these videos, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us keep creating content like this. So, what does all of this really mean? From judicial independence under threat to rising political influence, from mental burnout to increasing resignations, these aren't just isolated issues. Together, they paint a much bigger picture, one that raises serious questions about the future of justice. A legal system is only as strong as the people who uphold it. And when those people begin to feel pressured, restricted, or overwhelmed, it's not just their problem. It becomes a problem for every citizen who depends on fair and equal treatment under the law. Think about it. If judges start losing their confidence, their independence, or even their willingness to stay, what happens to the system we trust to protect our rights? This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because history has shown that even small changes in powerful systems can lead to massive consequences over time. And whether these changes are seen as necessary reform or a dangerous shift depends on how they are handled moving forward. Now, the real question is, are these changes improving the system or slowly weakening its foundation? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if this video made you think differently, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video, because topics like this are just the beginning.